All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. There's still a few other people that we're waiting on, but since it's already 11:05, we'll go ahead and start. For those of you that have just signed in, there are some instructions here just informing you that you can participate by using your telephone or your computer microphone and speakers, and you can change that setting in the GoToWebinar software interface, which should be at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. I will keep everyone muted during the presentation. I'm going to walk you through a few things, a few troubleshooting steps. While I'm presenting, if you can just be thinking of some questions that you may have, some issues that you've run into and would like some help on, we can take all those questions and then go through them one by one once I'm done with the presentation portion. So just be thinking of questions that you might have, and we can go over those after the demo. So today's webinar is a troubleshooting tips webinar, and we're also joined by Lloyd Georgeson from our tech support department.
Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you?
Some of you probably have talked to Lloyd before on the phone, so he's going to be joining us. And
5 chance of getting me on the phone.
So 20% chance of any time you call. So he'll be walking you through it during the question and answer session. If you guys have any questions, he'll be able to show you some things. If you have any issues or compatibility concerns, we can walk you through that. So here's what we're going to cover. I'm basically going to go over some general tips and tricks for various applications, settings in Adobe Reader, for example, how to configure Firefox for the best visual quality in terms of text, and then how to troubleshoot some reading issues that you might have in applications like Microsoft Office, Internet Explorer, or Firefox. Then also I'll just show you where on our web page you can find our knowledge base, which is a repository of troubleshooting articles for various issues and applications. And then we'll just open it up to question and answer at the end of the webinar. Since we have a lot of people signed in today, I'm not going to unmute everyone all at once. We have about 96 people that have registered and 30 people that are signed in right now. So if you want to speak up and ask your question during the Q&A, there's a raise hand button. And if you do that, raise your hand, we'll unmute you, and then you can ask your question over the webinar. Otherwise, just feel free to type them into the chat panel or the questions panel. Becca is logged in, and she will keep track of all those requests that you have during the presentation. So we'll go ahead and jump right into the live demo, and I'll walk you through a few things here. We're going to start with Adobe Reader. A lot of you probably read PDF documents, and from time to time may have had some issues with ZoomText and Adobe Reader. I'm going to start with using Adobe Reader 11, which is the most current version of Adobe Reader. So the first thing I'm going to show you, and I've already turned this setting off, but there's one setting that needs to be turned off in Adobe Reader before you launch ZoomText and use it. So what you'll need to do is launch the application. Then you're going to go to the Edit menu and go all the way down to Preferences. Okay, or you can press Control-K on the keyboard to open the Preferences window. In here, you're going to have a list of categories on the left-hand side. So there's a vertical list. You're going to want to click on where it says Security Enhanced. So there's two items here, Security and Security Enhanced. You're going to want to click on Security Enhanced. On the right-hand side of the window, there's a checkbox all the way at the top that says Enable Protected Mode at Startup. That must be turned off in order for ZoomText to work with Adobe Reader. If it's turned on and you're running ZoomText and try and start Adobe Reader, it's just going to freeze. The application won't be able to run. So you have to go in here and make these changes before starting ZoomText. So if you want to know what the hotkeys are, that might be helpful. You can start Adobe Reader, hit the Alt key, or actually you can just press, once the application's open, just hit Control-K to open Preferences. And then if you hit the S key, it'll cycle through the categories on the left-hand side. Security Enhanced is the third one. Then you can hit the Tab key once, or press Alt-M to uncheck that checkbox. It'll then ask you if you turn it on or off. If you want to continue, just click Yes or press Y to accept that. And then go ahead and exit out and restart Adobe Reader. And then you can start ZoomText from there. This is an issue that we're working on resolving, so you won't have to turn the setting off without ZoomText running. But for now, in Adobe Reader 11 only, you have to go in and turn the setting off first before running ZoomText.
That goes for Adobe 10 too.
It does go for Adobe 10 as well. Okay. So if you're running Adobe Reader 10 or 11, which are the more current versions, you have to go in there and turn that setting off first. A few other settings that are helpful, and again, this is all under the Preferences window here. Under the 3D and Multimedia category, there are some options that you should turn off or change in here. First thing you're going to want to change is there's a setting called Preferred Renderer. Okay, and right now it's set to DirectX 9. That's probably the default setting. You're going to want to change this to Software Rendering. Okay, so you just choose that in the drop-down. And then also uncheck underneath where it says Enable Hardware Rendering for Legacy Video Cards. Okay, you're going to want to turn these settings off for better font smoothing quality in Adobe Reader with ZoomText. So go ahead, and again, that's under 3D and Multimedia. Change Preferred Renderer to Software, and uncheck Enable Hardware Rendering for Legacy Video Cards. A few other settings, again, under the category list, if you go to Reading, there's an option here. It's about a quarter of the way down the dialog box here. It says Confirm Before Tagging Documents. Go ahead and uncheck that. Okay. Let's see, a few others.
The number of pages should be set to 2.
And Lloyd, yeah, that's a good suggestion too, because a lot of times what happens here is Adobe Reader has to prepare the document, and if you have a large document, you don't want it preparing 50 pages at a time. You'll be waiting a long time. So putting that something to like 2 will help speed up the performance as well. Let's see, a few other things that we have here. Lloyd, is there anything else that you normally recommend?
Well, if you scroll down a little bit,
in the same.
if you're having problems with a particular document with our product reading it, you can use the Adobe Read Out Loud and set the voice synthesizer to Paul, so it's in the same synthesizer. So I usually do that as well.
Yeah, we'll go.
Just uncheck Use Default and make sure it says VW is VoiceWare. Those are the folks that make NeoSpeech. It's Kate and Paul. So you can choose Paul or Kate if you want to there.
Yeah, there's an option within Adobe Reader. They have a feature called Read Out Loud, which will basically speak the document. It won't do highlighting like ZoomText does, but it's an alternative if you run into issues with the reading tools.
It's a bit clunky, but it does work.
Okay, so we've got those settings down. Now another thing that's helpful is if you've got a document open, and let's say I'm having problems with the ZoomText reading tools. I got this document from someone at work that emailed it to me. I don't really know if this is a scanned document or not. I don't know if there's text there that can be read. So one thing you can do is there is a feature in Adobe Reader called Accessibility Quick Check. And you can find this under the Edit menu. If you go down to Accessibility, oh, actually it's in a different spot here.
Yeah, 11, it's under Document.
Under the Document, let's see, Edit. Yeah, they've changed things around so much in each revision of Adobe Reader. I don't know if they even have it in here anymore. Let's see. No. We'll find it sooner or later. They might have taken it out in Adobe Reader 11. Anyway, there was an option under, oh, here we go. Oh, no, that's not it. There was an option under Accessibility called Accessibility Quick Check, and this would tell you if the document was a scanned image. That's in Adobe Reader 10. I think they've taken it out in Adobe Reader 11, it looks like. Or if they haven't, they've hidden it somewhere.
It's on our knowledge base.
Yeah, sure. I was just trying.
Well, while we're looking for that, we'll go ahead and show you a few other things. Another thing that can be problematic is opening up PDF documents from within a web browser. So a lot of times what you want to do is disable the plugin so that it always opens the document within Adobe Reader and not within the web browser like Internet Explorer or Firefox. So I'll walk you through how you can turn off those plugins within each browser. We'll go ahead and start with Internet Explorer. Okay, so I've got IE open. First thing I'm going to do is click the gears icon all the way at the right-hand side at the top to open the Tools menu, and then go to Manage Add-ons. Okay, in here you're going to want to make sure under the Add-on Types section you want to choose Toolbars and Extensions. It should be selected by default. Now on the right-hand side you're going to have a list of plugins that are installed within the browser. Okay, and one you should see listed here is Adobe PDF Link Helper. Okay, right now I can see if I expand this window that it's enabled. I'm going to want to click on that and then choose the Disable button. Okay, I want to disable that plugin. Now there's another plugin that we also need to disable which doesn't show up here right now. So in the lower left-hand corner of the window, you're going to see there's an option with a drop-down underneath the word Show. Right now it's showing currently loaded add-ons. We want to change this to Run Without Permission because there's some other plugins that are also running. And if we choose that, you'll see that there is another listing for Adobe. This one says Adobe PDF Reader. And again, this plugin is enabled. So click on that and then click the Disable button. So there's two plugins you want to disable. The Adobe PDF Reader, which is under, actually you could probably just go to Show All Add-ins and they'll be listed here. There you go. Now you can see both of them. You want to disable both, the PDF Link Helper and the Adobe PDF Reader. And after you've done that, click the Close button and then just exit and restart IE before opening a PDF document within the browser. Now how about Firefox? It's going to be kind of the same series of events. First thing you want to do is click on the Firefox menu up at the top, upper left-hand corner, and then go to Add-ons. You can also press Control-Shift-A on the keyboard to open the Add-ons window. So within here, we'll see any of our plugins that are installed. Make sure on the left-hand side that you click on Plugins. And you're going to see on the right-hand side a plugin called Adobe Acrobat. Okay, you want to go all the way to the right and click on the Disable button. Go ahead and disable that add-on. Right, and it should show the name and then disabled in parentheses next to it. So this will ensure when you open a PDF document in the browser that it will then open Adobe Reader separately, which will give you better reading support. Sometimes you can have issues with the document paging from within the web browser and just some random reading issues that you don't have running the application separately. Okay, so those are some settings that you'd want to change within your browser as well. Now let's see, did we find out if there was...
Yeah, so this says it applies for Adobe 10, so
yep.
I'm not sure if that's where you're in, but if you go to Edit...
Yeah, I think this is where we look, Edit and Accessibility. I think they've taken the quick check out or they've moved it. I'm just going to look and see if I can find it in here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere within the menus. But anyway, they did have an accessibility quick check that would tell you, hey, this document's a scanned image. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see it in here. They may have gotten rid of it. If it's here, like I said, they've hidden it pretty well. It's under Read Out Loud. No? Okay, anyway. Beyond that, there's another thing that you should probably look for. And that is, let me see if I can find this. Again, a lot of these settings move in each version of Adobe Reader. So another thing you need to look for is the security properties of the document. If you go to the Edit menu, go down to Protection and then Security Properties. In here, this will show some various security settings for the document. This document is not protected, so it says security method, no security. But the one thing you want to make sure is allowed. It says content copying for accessibility. This must be allowed in order for us to read the document. So if this says not allowed right in here, you won't be able to use the reading tools in ZoomText to read that document. I don't know if Read Out Loud will also read it. Do you know the answer to that?
Say again?
If this is set to not allowed, content copying for accessibility, does Read Out Loud still read it? Probably not.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Probably not. I'm pretty sure this must be allowed.
Secure document, you'd have trouble.
So secure documents are one thing that can be problematic as well. Just make sure that this setting shows allowed. If it doesn't, then we're probably not going to be able to read it. And again, you can find that under Edit, Protection, Security Properties. That'll show the security properties for the current document that you have open. I just want to see if we can find this accessibility quick check. I think they've gotten rid of it in Adobe Reader 11. But anyway, if you're running Adobe Reader 10 or older, it's under the Edit menu and then Accessibility. And there's going to be an option here that says Accessibility Quick Check. That will tell you either the document has no accessibility issues or that the document appears to contain no text and it may be a scanned image. If it tells you that, then you know that there's no text within the document that can be read. Another thing too, the first time you launch Adobe Reader, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here, you're going to be presented with this accessibility setup wizard or assistant. This will detect if you have any assistive technology on your machine. I usually just click on Use Recommended Settings and skip Setup. I don't think this will really impact you, but this, along with the settings that we also showed you here today, should resolve a lot of PDF issues that you may have encountered in the past. Okay? So those are some tips and tricks for Adobe Reader. Now, Firefox is one thing. You may have installed it, and I'm just going to go through here and make some settings real quick to show you what you might encounter. So for now, don't worry about what I'm doing because I'm going to set this up so that you can see what this issue might be that you'll encounter with Firefox. So if I've installed Firefox for the first time, I'm on Google News, and the fonts look kind of poor. This is really jagged, and some of the text doesn't look very good. It doesn't look like it's an X font, okay? All this text over here is really jagged and just doesn't look right. Well, there's a setting within Firefox that uses what's called hardware acceleration that can impact our ability to smooth the fonts. So if you go to the Firefox menu in the upper left and go down to Options, and then click on Options to the right of it, in here you're going to have tabs across the top in the Options dialog. Click on Advanced, which is the rightmost one, and underneath the Browsing heading, there's an option that says Use Hardware Acceleration when available. You want to uncheck that or press Alt-R on the keyboard to uncheck that item. Then click the OK button and go ahead and exit and restart Firefox. You can see how blurry the text looks here on the menu. I'll exit out. I'll restart Firefox. If we open the menu again, you'll see that it's very crisp and clear. And if we go back to Google News, you'll see that the text there also looks much, much better. And you can see that X font is now working. So that setting needs to be turned off in order for us to have the best possible font smoothing while you're in Firefox. Okay? And I do believe that ZoomText will alert you if that setting is turned on, at least after install. But if it doesn't and things don't look right, again, make sure you go into the Options under Advanced and uncheck that setting. Okay. All right, now the last thing I'm going to show you here today, I'm just running you through a few basics and things that we've encountered in the past. A lot of times you may have some strange reading issues in applications like Microsoft Word, Outlook, Internet Explorer, maybe Firefox. You know, whether it's starting App Reader or ZoomText is just saying blank whenever you type or whenever you use the arrow keys. We have specific application handlers for these programs to give us reading support. Not every application that's written in Windows is going to give ZoomText the on-screen information that we need in order for us to give you as the user information as to what's on the computer screen. So we've built what are called application handlers to give us this information. Now these are plugins that are basically running in memory at all times. There can be instances where they're not loaded properly or just kind of in some weird state. So there's an easy way that you can re-register these AHI, what are called AHI modules, short for Application Handling Object Interface, in order to kind of refresh them and normally fix reading issues that you have in any Office application or web browser like IE or Firefox specifically. So to do that, you can go to the Help menu in ZoomText and then go down to Tech Support. And on this window, you're going to be brought to the Fix-It command field all the way down at the bottom. In the Fix-It command field, you're going to type in AHOI, okay, and then click on Fix-It. This will open up another window. You'll be prompted by the Windows user account control if you have that turned on. This will open up another window called ZoomText AHI Setup. You'll see applications listed here. Adobe Reader is another one as well. So you can see Excel, Outlook, Word, some of our web support stuff. So these modules, like I said, are running in memory, and there are instances where they may not be loaded properly. If the machine crashes or something like that, they may get into state. So in order to kind of refresh these, what you want to do is select all of them. So unfortunately, Control-A doesn't work in this dialog box. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom and hold down the Shift key and left-click on the last item in the list, that'll select all of them. So you can see now I have all of these items selected. You could also do it one by one if you want, but I have them all selected right now, and I'm going to click on the Remove Module button. Okay. Some of them you'll get a message saying they can't be unregistered, but just click OK. All right, and you'll see that most of them have been removed from the list, basically taken out of memory. Now we're going to add them back. So I selected all of them, clicked Remove Module. Now I'm going to click the Add Module button, and you'll see a list of files come up. Just click anywhere in here, and press Control-A to select all of them. Then click the Open button. You'll see now they're all added back to the list like they were before. Okay, so basically we're just removing everything and then adding it back in. So now that I've done that, I'll click Exit, and what you're going to want to do at this point, which I'm not going to do, is exit ZoomText, restart your computer, and try again. So you can probably get away with just exiting and restarting ZoomText, but to be safe, you should probably restart the computer as well, just to make sure that those modules get loaded back into memory. So those are a few basic troubleshooting steps. I really wanted to give you guys some time to ask us and ask Lloyd any questions that you might have or problems that you've encountered. We ran through some basic things in Adobe Reader, Firefox, and also how to re-register those AHI modules. But now we'll just kind of open it up and see what kind of questions that you guys might have, and take it from there.
I'm going to go ahead and read some.
Yeah. Yep.
So we have one who is just wondering about compatibility with Windows 8.
Good question. If you're interested in Windows 8, what you can do, right now we don't support Windows 8 with ZoomText 10. There's changes within the operating system that prevent us from being able to do what we do normally in Windows in the new operating system. We are working on it. If you go to our homepage, aisquared.com, click on, in the upper left-hand corner, well, not in the corner, but towards the upper left, info on ZoomText in Windows 8. Whoops, this isn't the wiki here. Let me close this out. This will bring you to a web page where you can click to sign up for notifications about the status. If you'd like to beta test for us, enter in information on the form. We are working on it. We don't have any release date right now. Best recommendation I can make, if you're getting a new computer, stay away from Windows 8 at this time. If you really need text, stick with Windows 7. Windows 8 is a completely different operating system. It works more like a mobile phone and Windows desktop kind of mushed together. It's kind of a difficult paradigm shift from Windows 7. I mean, even if you're used to using Windows, it's a little confusing. So there's going to be some bumps along the way. We are working as fast as we can to get a version out. I think we may have started sending out some beta copies, but if you're desperate and need a version of ZoomText for Windows 8, we do have a beta version that we're working on right now. But for those of you that are wondering about whether or not you should upgrade, I can't stress enough to please hold off at this time and stick with Windows 7. It's just going to save you a lot of hassle and frustration, to be honest.
Okay, next one. So someone is having troubles using the Enable ZoomText hotkey. She's pressing Alt-Insert and it's not working on her computer.
It could be, well, there could be another application that's using that hotkey, but generally ZoomText should take priority over other applications. What I would do is this. Go to the Settings menu in ZoomText, go down to Hotkeys, and in the Hotkey menu here, click on the Restore Defaults button. That'll restore all of the hotkeys to their default setting. After you've done that, if Alt-Delete, well, Alt-Insert is the one you're saying it's not working. If Alt-Insert still doesn't work, it's probably a program running on your computer. Next thing you can try doing is going down to the System tray and clicking on the arrow here if you're in Windows 7. This will show you running applications. Start exiting out of other programs and trying Alt-Insert until it works.
You can enable ZoomText from the ZoomText widget in the notification area.
That you could do too. Yeah, Lloyd mentioned if you are in the System tray here, if you right-click on ZoomText.
No, not right-click. Just left-click on it.
Yep.
And enable ZoomText.
Okay. If it's disabled. So if I have it disabled now, and I click down here, click on ZoomText, there's an option here to enable ZoomText. The other thing you can try, if you want to use a hotkey and there's some conflict with Alt-Insert, again, going to the Settings menu and clicking on Hotkeys, go to the hotkey group. What is it called? It's not. Is it magnification? No, it's not that one. Where is it? Maybe it's user interface. Yes, okay. So under hotkey group, you're going to go all the way down to the bottom where it says user interface. And in here you'll see in the hotkey command window, disable ZoomText, enable ZoomText, and how to bring up the user interface. Click on enable ZoomText and change it to a different hotkey. One of these modifier keys has to be checked, Alt, Control, Shift, Windows key, or Caps Lock. I'll leave it at Alt, but you could do Alt F2 if you wanted to, just by changing this primary key. So now that I've done that, I'll click OK. Alt-Delete will disable because I didn't change it. And then Alt F2 will now enable ZoomText. So you can try that too. Try changing the hotkey. I'm guessing it's just a hotkey conflict with another application that's running. If you make those changes to the hotkey settings, make sure you go to the File menu and choose Save as Default to make sure that you save your changes so the next time you start ZoomText it comes up with those settings saved.
Square the ZoomText button.
Or you can click on the ZoomText button on the toolbar. If you're a mouse user,
yeah, that's a button.
You can just click on that.
Okay. Next question was about Webfinder.
Yep.
The Webfinder button on the UI does not work. When I click on it, nothing happens.
Okay. One thing to know about Webfinder is that the button is only going to be enabled when you're in a supported web browser. So if I'm in Internet Explorer, okay, you'll see that the button, well, it's not lit up where it should be. Let's try this again. Hotkey works. Okay, when you're in a supported browser like Internet Explorer, you'll see the button's enabled. I can click on it. But if I'm on the desktop, for example, that button is grayed out. So it's going to be grayed out unless I'm in Internet Explorer or Firefox. So now I've got Firefox open, and you'll see that Webfinder is enabled. The other thing you can try, too, if the UI button is grayed out, because a lot of times we're detecting where the system cursor is and it may not actually be in the application, use the hotkey, which is Control-Shift-W. Okay? If you try using that outside of a web browser, it should alert you, please activate a supported browser before launching Webfinder. Okay? So the hotkey might be a more reliable way to launch it, but if you don't have a browser open, that button will be grayed out.
Okay, next question is about typing echo. In typing echo, is there a way to speed up the key reading options? I have to type fast for it to say every key pushed.
Yeah, what you would want to do then is adjust the speech rate. And that's under the Reader tab, and you can just adjust the rate here. One thing to note, though, if you're using NeoSpeech even at 100 at the fastest rate, you're probably going to be able to out-type it in terms of hearing the key echo. Human-sounding speech synthesizers like NeoSpeech are sometimes, or well, all of them are less responsive than some of the more robotic-sounding speech synthesizers. So if typing echo is really important to you, go to the speech icon or the Reader menu and choose Synthesizer, Speech, and then Settings. And in here, change your synthesizer to something like True Voice or Via Voice. I'll go ahead and change this to Via Voice.
ZoomText user interface.
And the rate numbers are different for each synthesizer, but this is words per minute, I believe. So if I bump this up, I'll bump it up to like 350. Let's do 400. Okay, so you can hear how fast that's speaking. Now, if I go into Microsoft Word, this might be a little too fast. Let me drop it down a little bit. Let's go to 350.
351 words per minute. Microsoft Word.
Okay. So now if I start typing, I've got key echo on. This should be able to keep up with me.
HELLOANNTHEIFOURATTEFORATTEFISG.
Okay. So that's what you're going to want to do. If key echo is really important to you, you need a very fast speech synthesizer to keep up with you, and also need to bump the rate way, way up. If it's at the default settings, you're probably going to be able to out-type it if you're a fast touch typist.
ZoomText user interface. Disabled.
Okay. I also noticed, I think we also had another person with their hand up. It looks like Michael. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Michael, did you have a question for us? Looks like, I think Michael may have left. No, oh, there he is. Michael, you're unmuted, and I don't know if we can hear you on our end. If you can just type your question.
Yeah, he's typing it.
Okay.
He's asking about, can we correct voice pronunciation in ZoomText again?
Ah, good question. You can. This actually leads me to our knowledge base right now. This is a good time to show you guys where our knowledge base is, because we do have an article about this. So if you go to our webpage, which is aisquared.com, click on the Support tab up at the top. And on the left-hand side here, you're going to click on Knowledge Base. And this is going to have a repository of all of our knowledge base articles. So you can see we have the most popular searches, articles that we've recently added or modified. So there's one here about ZoomText and Kurzweil. Recommended Adobe Reader settings, which I went over with you today. Or you can search by category. So I believe the one I'm looking for is under the speech category. And let's see, I'm probably just going to search for it. Here we go. So we have 3 different articles here. And again, this was under knowledge base, and I scrolled down to where it said category search, and there was an option, a category for speech. So scroll down about halfway. There are articles changing how Via Voice pronounces words, changing how True Voice pronounces words, and changing how NeoSpeech pronounces words. So each speech engine has a different set of instructions. Most of you are probably using NeoSpeech, so that's the one I'm going to refer to. So if you have, a lot of times last names aren't pronounced correctly. So what you can do is, if we go to ZoomText, I'm not going to go through the whole article, but we want to go to Speech and then Settings. I'm going to change this to NeoSpeech because that's what we want to deal with.
Enable speech output checked.
Okay. Now we're going to click on the Options button.
Option. English User Dictionary Editor.
Okay.
File open.
This will open up the dictionary that we have saved for this particular voice. You can see on the left-hand side here, or in the lower left, here's a bunch of different definitions that have already been set on how to have the word spoken correctly. For example, you can see the word NeoSpeech, Xbox, ZoomText. So let's say my last name, for example, it's spelled B-O-V-E, but it's pronounced Bovie as if there's a Y on the end. So let's say I wanted to add that into the dictionary. What I'd want to do is click on the Add Word button.
Add word. Source.
Now you have a source and a target field. The source field is the actual word itself. So in this case, it's my last name.
E.
All right. Now,
Target.
in the target field, I want to type in how I want that word pronounced. So I need to accentuate the spelling of it, basically. So my target, I'm going to add a Y on the end of it. So B-O-V-E-Y. Okay. If I click the Read button.
Bovie. Bovie.
All right. You can hear it says Bovie. Here
Source Bove.
it would just say Bove. So I want to alter that. I have it set the way I want. I'll click OK.
Bove.
Now after I do that, I'll click the Close button.
Do another one. Click Add Word.
Yep.
Add word.
This
Source.
one, capital G-O-D.
Yep.
D.
Right. You can do lowercase o and D.
Okay.
So
D.
a lot of our customers have Bible study stuff. And in the target now, you have to use a pronunciation symbol this time. So choose pronunciation symbol
Target.
and type in lowercase g,
G.
and then scroll down a little bit, and you'll see all the pronunciation.
Ah, very nice.
You have to click the center O there in a vertical column, the letter O. This is all vowels. You have to
This one here.
pick the center one with the octet leaning to the top right, and then type the letter G, or D rather.
Yep.
D.
Now press Read.
God. God.
So now it'll say the word God correctly, otherwise it says goad. So go ahead and click OK.
Bove.
And here's another example. Click Add Word again.
Add word. Source.
Say Don T for the contraction for don't. So type don't.
T.
And then in the target area, type G-O-A-N-T.
A-N-T.
And click Read.
Read. Don't.
So that's close. You have to type it how it sounds. The word wouldn't, NeoSpeech tends to spell it. Doesn't even try to do it. Now that's another good
Add
one.
word.
Type in would
T.
for contraction. Now you have to
Target.
do W-O-O-D-A-N-T.
T.
Now click Read.
Read. Wouldn't.
That's close enough.
Yep.
And then say OK.
Bove.
And then as you exit, it'll ask you if you want to save.
Yep, so I'll click Close.
User and save changes to dictionary. Yes.
The only thing is,
Synthesizer. Options.
is restart ZoomText. So you have to shut down ZoomText and restart it, and then it should read properly. It's interesting, sometimes ZoomText says the word don't just fine in Internet Explorer, but will not say it correctly in Firefox. It spells it in Firefox or says Don T, and that's what it does. It's interesting how Internet Explorer works fine, but Firefox it doesn't. It's all how text gets rendered to the screen. That's
speech enabled.
So now we've made those changes, so I'll just type some of those words in so you can hear that it actually changed them.
Bovie.
Okay, so you can hear that that was pronounced correctly as if there was a Y on the end of it.
God. T.
Oops.
See? Yeah.
T.
I don't know why it's saying T, but
After the
T.
You have app reader read it,
Don't.
or use say the whole line.
Bovie God don't wouldn't. End of document.
it's kind of a strange sentence, but you can see that you can change the pronunciation dictionary very easily in NeoSpeech. I'm not going to go through True Voice and Via Voice. They're a little bit more difficult, and most people are going to stick with NeoSpeech as well. One thing to note, you have to make changes for each voice. So
document 2, speech disabled.
if you switch between NeoSpeech Paul and Kate, you'll have to make sure that you have the appropriate voice selected, go under Options, make those changes, but also do the same for the other voice as well. The dictionaries are independent, so if you switch between them at all and want similar dictionaries, just make sure that you make the appropriate changes in both.
When I use the reader and I hear a mistake, I'll make a notation somewhere, and I'll do about 5 at a time as I use the reader tools the day or usage. I used to be able to just fix them in my head. I just got tired of it. And it's usually not a problem because ZoomText doesn't understand context like live and live, resume, resume.
Yep.
But those are English language problems, not really a ZoomText issue. It doesn't interpret context. It's just a machine. It just repeats what's on the screen. So it says live or live, one or the other. It doesn't always say it correctly.
And a lot of times, too, we're at the mercy of the speech engine itself. We don't develop the voices like NeoSpeech. That's a third-party company that we've partnered with for that speech engine. So a lot of times, in-context reading like that is really out of our control. We give you some tools in ZoomText, things like the dictionary, but unfortunately in some scenarios we can't alter what's inherent in the speech engine itself.
So Michael had a follow-up. He was just wondering if you can export your dictionary.
Yep, I'm pretty sure you can do that. Again, if you go under options, there's a save as, file save as option, and you can just click on that and save it out anywhere. It's just a CSV file. So you could, theoretically, if you had multiple machines, create the dictionary on one machine, merge it over to the other. Just make sure you put it in the appropriate directory, which is under Program File. You can see the directory here, Program Files, VW, ET, and then you have the voice, Power 8, and then there's some other subfolders there. Finally, you get to the user DICT folder, and that's where the dictionary file resides.
Okay, next question. Could you briefly explain again when you would want to re-register AHI modules?
Basically, anytime you're having problems with the reading tools not working, maybe you get an error from Doc Reader or App Reader, and this is specific to applications that we have an AHI module for, which if I show you the list, you'll get an idea. Whoops, I put it in wrong. Hold on. So that's Adobe Reader, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Excel, Outlook, Word, and that's basically it. So IE9, IE8, Firefox, Excel, Outlook, or Word. You may get into scenarios in Word. I'm having trouble typing today. If I had a sentence like this,
Speech enabled.
and I started arrowing,
Space. Period. G. N.
if ZoomText was just saying blank every time I move the arrow key, that might be an indication that the plugin is not working correctly. Sometimes just restarting the application will fix it, but other times it doesn't. It's not clear what causes the modules to get out of memory, but this is something that tech support goes through pretty frequently in terms of troubleshooting issues.
Yeah, it's one of the standard things because it's fairly quick to do to reload those AHI modules. Sometimes during the upgrade, perhaps one of your security protocols or procedures had blocked that AHI module from functioning or updating itself, and you may actually be running an AHI module from an older version of ZoomText, which has been known to happen. It's relatively rare, but it does happen. You will get sometimes, especially in Microsoft Word, you may get an error message that does say there's an error with the AHI module, and that's once you get that error message that specifically mentions the AHI module, then of course you'd want to reload the AHI and try it again. You also want to close the suspicious application as well. So if you're going to reload the AHI modules and restart ZoomText, you want to close Microsoft Word as well, for example, and then start them both again. Also, if you're having problems with the App Reader, try the Doc Reader right immediately after you get your problem with the App Reader. Doc Reader can give you a different error message that can help you narrow in on what's going on. Like, for instance, sometimes App Reader just won't start at all, like in a PDF, for instance. Then when you try the Doc Reader gives you an error message that says there's no detectable text. So that PDF could be an image of text, and that's often occurs. So you can get a clue of what's really happening sometimes by using the Doc Reader versus the App Reader, and vice versa. You can sometimes get different error messages that can help with your troubleshooting.
Yeah, those are great points. Definitely trying Doc Reader in situations where App Reader doesn't work may give you a more descriptive error, which is very helpful. So these are just some basic troubleshooting steps. And again, for those of you that are maybe training ZoomText or out in the field, helping someone trying to get it to work, doing things like re-registering the AHI module for specific reading problems is a good thing to try in most scenarios. So that's why we're showing it here to you today. But as Lloyd mentioned, trying both App Reader and Doc Reader, if you're having reading issues, is also another way to try and narrow down exactly what the issue might be.
Yeah, getting back to PDFs for a second, PDFs are the most challenging thing for ZoomText to read because just about anything can be called a
Adobe Reader design.
And that can be a real problem for ZoomText to deal with. A lot of e-books, for instance, have copyright protection, and they don't want somebody to record the text and then post it out on the internet as an audio version of the book. So there's all kinds of crazy legalities and lots of challenges in PDFs for ZoomText. Those are the most difficult. But basically, if you click on the text and you get a cursor in the text or a caret, then there's a good chance the readers are going to work. If you don't get a caret or it highlights everything, then it's probably a picture of text. Most scanners today will have a PDF button right on the scanner. If you push that button without adjusting that to create a searchable PDF, which is what you want for readability, then it will take a picture or a TIFF file and convert that to a PDF. The extension says it's a PDF, but it's really a picture of text. And of course, no screen readers can read a picture. And that's the problem. If you ask somebody to scan some sort of piece of paper or something, and they put it on their scanner, they hit the PDF button thinking they're doing a good thing, unfortunately, it will not read by a screen reader. It's very challenging. PDFs are definitely the most challenging. We're at the mercy of the author in most instances there.
Yeah, and I think Lloyd's exactly right. A lot of times, you know, if you're in an office environment and someone sends you a PDF, they're not aware that they're just creating basically an image of the document and not an accessible PDF that has text in it. And they can see it. There are applications that allow you to convert that image to text, and actually Adobe Acrobat, the paid version of Adobe Reader, does have that built right in. So
very expensive, but it's incredibly useful. It'll straighten out crooked scans and everything.
So there is that, and I think there's some other programs, although the names of them, maybe you know of some, that just convert PDFs to text.
Well, Kurzweil can do it with electronic format, and there's quite a few others out there. What you're looking for is an OCR tool, and of course OCR is optical character recognition. But of course, being an optical character recognition, you have to be careful. I've had it where it changed a product ID, for instance, the number 2, it changed it to the letter Z, and back and forth. So optical character recognition isn't always 100% accurate. I was trying to help somebody activate their Microsoft Office, and they had scanned the product code with an OCR from the envelope that the disk came in, and that's exactly what happened. It converted the Z to a number 2, and that was not the correct product code at all. So it was a 15-digit product code, so it made that not functional. It was really frustrating until he actually used a handheld magnifier on the actual envelope itself and noticed, oh, that's a Z, not a number 2. So that was one of those things. Optical character recognition is one of those useful tools, but it is not 100% accurate.
Speaking of Kurzweil, we did have another question here about what are our recommendations for installing ZoomText 10 and Kurzweil 1000 on the same computer. Is there a recommended order of installation to avoid problems?
Yeah, Lloyd, you want to talk about that?
It doesn't really matter what order you do it in, because as we talked about earlier, we both purchased NeoSpeech from the same third-party vendor. And older versions of Kurzweil, you could use a third-party NeoSpeech in ZoomText. However, now that's actually reversed now, and because they are now streaming NeoSpeech into their installation product rather than installing it as a separate standalone version of VW, which is, again, VoiceWare, VoiceWorks, that's the company that makes NeoSpeech, like ZoomText does, now it's licensed to them specifically. So that's why you'll get the demo mode. If you have a ZoomText CD, you can then put that ZoomText 9.1 or 10 CD. It doesn't matter. We use the same version in 10 that we used in 9.1. You can then browse that CD and go to the ZT Setup and ZoomText 10 subfolder, or just Setup at 9.1. And within that subfolder is yet another subfolder called Support. And in that Support subfolder, you will find two folders yet again. One is called Paul 64M and Kate 64M. You'll have to open each one of those individually and run the setup twice. For each one of those, the first setup may even say uninstalling, and that's uninstalling the Kurzweil version of NeoSpeech, and then you run setup again, and that'll install the ZoomText. You have to do that for both Kate and Paul. Kurzweil will now use ZoomText Kate and Paul, but and ZoomText, of course, will be happy with its own version. It's funny, Kurzweil will use ours, but we can't use theirs. And unfortunately, I've tried it both ways with one of our customers, installing NeoSpeech or ZoomText first, and then installing Kurzweil, or installing Kurzweil first and then ZoomText. Hopefully, the ZoomText NeoSpeech would override, and that just wasn't the case. You had to, unfortunately, experience this error message where it said demo mode. You are now running in a demo mode. For a licensed copy, I forget the exact wording, but if it's verbalizing you're running in a demo mode, that is a Kurzweil issue. It's not ZoomText in demo mode. We never use the term demo. We use trial for ZoomText, and ZoomText never verbalizes that it's running in trial mode, because our trial is actually full power ZoomText. It's not hampered in any way whatsoever. It is just set to expire within 60 days. So unfortunately, there is no good way to automate or repair that issue by installing one over the other. I've seen it go both ways. I've done it myself, and you have to install the NeoSpeech after the fact. But once you install the ZoomText version of NeoSpeech, then Kurzweil will use the NeoSpeech provided by ZoomText without any trouble at all. So once you fix it, it's done for that machine.
And there is a knowledge base article on our website that gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do exactly what Lloyd said, which basically is to run the installers for each of the speech engines twice, once to uninstall and once to reinstall. So again, if you go to the support page, click on knowledge base on the left-hand side. It's going to be listed right here about in the middle of the page under recently added or modified. And it says ZoomText with Kurzweil, expired license and or license verification error. Okay.
Right. Incidentally, if you do not have a ZoomText 9.1 or 10 CD, you can download the NeoSpeech individually from our website and run those, and that'll do the same thing. They're a zipped file, so you'll have to unzip them typically and then run the setup. You can do that by going to the ZoomText user interface, and you choose Help and Download Program Components. Choose Download Program Components brings you to a special place on our web page where you can download voice synthesizers. If you have an English-only version of ZoomText, don't even try to download any other languages, because it will not function without the international version of ZoomText being installed and activated with an international serial number for ZoomText. However, you can certainly download the NeoSpeech Kate and Paul together, or I recommend downloading them separately and then unzipping them and then running them, and that will do the same thing as if you had a CD. Did that answer your question? I hope so. Yeah. And of course, don't overlook the second most greatest resource provided with ZoomText is the ZoomText Help. ZoomText Help is an incredible resource. It comes with all ZoomText. Click on Help on the ZoomText user interface and choose ZoomText Help. And there's many features and functions that a lot of people are not taking full advantage of for ZoomText. The first most incredible resource that comes with all ZoomText products, of course, is the tech support phone number. So definitely give us a call if you're having any trouble. Our tech support staff, our brilliant tech support staff, is on the job Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern Time. So please do give us a call. We do have the capability of remoting to your machine with your assistance and helping directly with any issue or questions you may have with ZoomText. So please don't neglect that. It comes with the product. We don't charge extra for it. So if you have any problems or questions, please do not hesitate to ask. if you are indeed someone who supports ZoomText, you can contact me directly if you like. My extension is 146, and I have a special email just for you that has all those files that help you install and set up ZoomText, along with some tips and tricks documents that can help. It's a little more advanced for average users. However, I will send it to average users if you give me a call, and I can definitely help you out. And we can discuss other options for troublesome reading and things like that. Reading seems to be the most difficult thing, either online or with standalone PDFs. That's the most trouble we get calls for, is reading is not working or sporadic or doesn't say the right thing. So we have a lot of information here at our fingertips, so don't hesitate to call our tech support staff.
Okay, a couple more questions before we end for the day here. One is, are the points you're reviewing in this webinar covered in the ZoomText user guide?
No, because these are specific troubleshooting steps. So none of this you're going to find in the user guide. The user guide is going to show you how to use features. These are really advanced troubleshooting steps, but everything that we went over here today is on our online knowledge base. So you can always use that as a resource, but it's not going to be built into the product anywhere or printed in the manual. These are pretty advanced things that you shouldn't have to do every day. So they're usually specific instances of areas where you might run into problems.
Okay, next one, is there a ZoomText app for the iPad?
There is. Right now we have an application called Zoom Contacts for the iPad. If you go to our mobile website, which is mobile.ai2.com, no www, just mobile.ai2.com, we have two apps. One is called Zoom Contacts, which is a large print contact application for the iPad. So it basically replaces the default contact application with a large print version that has 4 different font sizes, 4 different color filtering schemes, and even has a high contrast keyboard when you're entering in contacts and things like that. We also have another application that right now is only supported on the iPhone 4, but I'm happy to report that we are adding support for the iPad 3, the iPhone 5. It actually works for the iPhone 5 right now. iPad 3, iPad mini, and the new iPod Touch. And that application is called Zoom Reader. It retails for $19.99. This is a kind of a handheld scan and read product for the iPhone and iPad now. Allows you to use the built-in camera to take a picture of printed information and have it read back to you. So we are adding support for the iPad. Probably in the next week or two we'll have that out. Right now it only supports the iPhone 4, 4S, and iPhone 5. That application retails for $19.99, so $20. And Zoom Contacts is $4.99, and that's available on the iPad 1, 2, or 3.
Last question I have here is, will the ZoomText Windows 8 version be a paid upgrade or just an update for ZoomText 10?
Right now, we don't know at this point. I think we're still figuring out what our company policy is on that. Unfortunately, we don't have any more information at this time.
But if you're on our email list, you certainly will get notifications as soon as we figure all that out.
Yep.
Stay tuned for more information.
All right. Let's just see. I think we pretty much mentioned everything in the webinar here. Just a few last-minute things. Lloyd mentioned the tech support number or tech support availability. I've got the number there along with the sales hotline. We also have a worldwide network of dealers that also resell and support our product. If you go to our homepage and click on the Dealers tab, they're listed by state here in the U.S. and country internationally, so you can utilize them as a resource as well. We do weekly webinars. One is Getting Started in ZoomText, and the other is What's New in ZoomText 10. We alternate those every week. All of our webinars are available online as recorded versions. Even today's webinar will be recorded. I'll put it up on our website and email everyone who registered a link to that so that you can view it at a later time if you ever want to come back and review some of the things that we went over today. Do you have anything else?
I don't see anything at this point. Nope.
All right. Another thing, too, if you guys have any follow-ups that you maybe forgot to ask during the webinar, you can email us. Our email address is learning@aisquared.com. You can follow up that way if you had any questions that were unanswered during the webinar or maybe you thought about afterwards. Any other last-minute comments, Lloyd?
Well, don't hesitate to call tech support. It comes with the product. We understand our customers will need support. It's not an if but when issue, so don't hesitate to call. Even if you're running the trial, give us a call.
Yep, great point. All right, well, thank you guys for attending. We hope you enjoyed the webinar, and thanks for all your questions. Those are all really great questions. So again, I'll follow up by email, give everyone a link to the recording, and you can view it at a later time if you need to. So thanks again, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.